So, one of the first Pikmin challenge runs I ever did on this channel was trying to beat Pikmin 1 in the least amount of throws possible. At the time, for us, it was a really popular video. So shortly after it was released, I looked at doing the same for Pikmin 2. But while I was doing research for that video, I noticed something strange. No matter where or how hard I looked, I couldn't find any record of anyone ever trying this challenge. Which is weird because there's tons of examples for the other games. So I thought to myself, what's wrong with Pikmin 2? Well, after trying the challenge for myself, I found out. There's just too many throws. Hell, to complete the tutorial alone, you need 53 throws. 53. That's more than it takes to beat Pikmin 1, 3, and 4 combined. And that's just the tutorial. If we went on to beat the entire game, it'd probably be easily over 100 throws, which is just too many. Like, a minimum throws challenge stops being interesting at that point. So, I gave up, closed the book on the challenge, and vowed to never return. At least, that was the story up until a couple weeks ago, when I redid my fewest throws challenge for Pikmin 1. With the knowledge I gained over an entire year of doing Pikmin challenges, I was able to bring my previous total of 35 throws all the way down to 3. And this got me thinking, could I do the same with Pikmin 2? With the knowledge I accrued over the past year, could I attempt the challenge again, and this time actually make it interesting? Well, yeah, the answer is yes. You know this. You've already seen the thumbnail. Guys, I got it down to 0. It takes 0 throws to beat Pikmin 2. And I know what you're thinking. That can't be true. There's no way you could beat Pikmin 2 with only 0 throws. How could that even be possible? Well, dear viewer, come with me now as I take you on the week-long journey that was beating Pikmin 2 in the fewest throws possible. A journey that started off with over 100 throws and was brought down to the low number of 0. Guys, if you think the Snitchbug is a scum bastard, please like this video. Thank you. Before we start, I want to first thank Grassdigger, Jay, Strongman Lin, Nougat, Ugandan NightWolf, Spadiver, and Ets High with their help on this video. It would not have been possible without them, so please thank them in the comments. Okay, so I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. Beating Pikmin 2 with 0 throws is the most tedious and torturous thing a human being could ever endure. So, to keep this video actually interesting, and to keep my mental health from declining even further, we're gonna beat this game in a slightly different way. Unfortunately, it is gonna involve more throws than 0, but I promise you, it'll be way more interesting. Then, once we're finished, I'll go over just how to beat Pikmin 2 with 0 throws. Sound good? Okay. So, before we start though, let me quickly go over some rules we're gonna have in this first run. Basically, there's only 2. We can't pay off the debt by farming enemy bodies, and the challenge ends as soon as we pay off the debt. Other than that, anything else goes. So with that being said, let's get into the challenge. So like I mentioned at the start of the video, escaping Pikmin 2's tutorial takes 53 throws, which is obviously a lot, so let's quickly go over how we get to this many in such a short amount of time. The goal of Pikmin 2's tutorial is to make it to the Emergence Cave, grow purple Pikmin, and grab the Spherical Atlas, which will unlock the Awakening Wood and allow you to progress further into the game. To actually do this though, we need to crush these 2 bags, which unfortunately for us is done by throwing Pikmin on them. You need 15 Pikmin to crush this one, and 35 to crush the other. So right there, that's already 50 throws. You also need 2 more to get these pellets up here on this ledge, which you have to get to grow the 15 Pikmin needed to crush the bag in the first place. Finally, you need to use 1 throw to grow a single purple Pikmin, so you can bring the Spherical Atlas back to the ship. Since the Spherical Atlas needs 101 Pikmin to carry it, and the maximum amount of Pikmin you can have out at once is 100, you need the extra carry strength that single purple Pikmin provides to carry the part back. So that's it. That's all 53 throws we need to complete Pikmin 2's tutorial. This number is unfortunately set in stone and cannot be reduced in any way. Which is obviously a lie, because we're about to break this game wide open and reduce that number by more than half. The first thing we have to do is start a new file, and once we land in the Valley of Repose, we need to whistle a single Pikmin. We can then bring him over to this corner here, and if we hold on to him and turn Olimar 180 degrees, we can throw him out of bounds. Now, we can whistle the Pikmin, and if we walk over here, he'll follow us and fall off into the void, which will cause a Pikmin extinction and end day 1 without us having to collect the battery, which is normally the only way you can end day 1. Next, we want to start day 2 and instantly go kill the Bulborb, who you're supposed to kill on day 1. Once his spirit rises up, we want to pause the game and quickly end the day. All of this is to set up a glitch called Cutscene Timer Storage. Basically, when you kill this Bulborb, a timer starts. When that timer goes off, this cutscene saying that the ship has established a link with Louie will play, which then allows the player to swap to Louie and start building their Pikmin army. Which is actually what we want to do, but we also can't kill this Bulborb because we're gonna need him later. Thankfully, this timer doesn't just apply to the save file we're playing on. It applies to every save file. So when we end the day, we can hit start over from last save, start a new save file, and once we land in the Valley of Repose, the timer will go off and the cutscene will play, allowing us to swap to Louie without having to kill this Bulborb, which for reasons you'll see soon is absolutely crucial. Now we can grow our Pikmin and actually save a throw at these 2 pellets by using the whistle and the C-stick to manipulate our Pikmin in such a way that he pushes both pellets off at the same time. Now that we have our 16 Pikmin, we can throw 15 of them on this bag and crush it, bringing our total number of throws so far to 17. Since the bag is now broken, the next thing the game wants us to do is kill the Bulborb so we can make 20 Pikmin, bring back the battery to end day 1, come back on day 2, grow some more Pikmin, and use 35 throws to crush this bag so we can make our way to the Emergence Cave. But we're not gonna do that, because that's a lot of throws and we worked really hard to keep this Bulborb alive, so we're gonna make good use of him. And by make good use of him, I mean we're gonna use him to do one of the hardest tricks in the game, the Bulborb jump. Basically, if we stand in between the Bulborb and this wall, there's a chance the Bulborb will push Olimar up on the ledge when he goes to bite him. And when I say a chance, I mean a very low chance. I mentioned this in a previous video, but the Pikmin wiki states this trick is incredibly precise and will likely take thousands of attempts. So yeah, it's hard. So hard in fact that I couldn't even do it. I had to use a moon jump cheat instead. But just know that it is possible, I'm just bad. Now that we're up here though, we can throw a single Pikmin up there as well and make use of something I didn't mention earlier. When I was growing the Pikmin with Louie, I left one in the ground so it could grow into a bulb Pikmin. Which may not seem like much until you realize Pikmin 2 has a hidden mechanic that allows you to swap between different Pikmin types, and that includes leaf, bulb, and flower Pikmin. So if we throw the bulb Pikmin up on the ledge, then hold it with the A button, we can press left or right on the D-pad and swap between different types. Since the other Pikmin we have are leaves, we're able to swap to them. And if we do it close enough to the edge, the leaf Pikmin will just appear in Olimar's hands. Meaning, we can get all of our Pikmin up here with just one throw, bringing our total number of throws to 18. And don't worry, even though we have to grab onto them to make this trick work, we don't actually have to throw them. We can just walk into the water with them still in our hands, and they'll come loose without us ever actually having to throw them. which means we can now make our way to the emergence cave with all of our Pikmin with only a single throw. Now, this trick is pretty cool, but what if I told you we could do it even better? Because literally, as I'm writing this script, Grassdigger from the Pikmin speedrunning Discord messaged me saying he can get to the emergence cave in 0 throws. With a trick I don't think actually has a name, but I'm gonna call idle canceling. But before I explain what the trick is, let me give some backstory first. So, before I knew about the swapping trick I just showed off, my original plan was to Bulborb jump up on the ledge, then whistle my Pikmin and quickly run into the cave before they left my party. Any Pikmin still in Olimar's party when he enters a cave will follow him in. So I thought as long as I could get there quickly enough, I could get all my Pikmin in the cave without any throws. But this never worked. As soon as I passed a certain point, the Pikmin would always leave my party. But this is where the idle cancel comes in. Basically, when I passed that certain point, my Pikmin would switch from being in my party to an idle state, which made sure I never had them when I reached the cave. But there are certain things in this game that can delay a Pikmin's transition to this idle state. Things like nectar, spicy spray, and yes, even Bulborbs. Specifically when a Bulborb shakes a Pikmin off. When Pikmin are in this shaken off state, their transition to becoming idle gets delayed. So theoretically, if we can get this Bulborb to shake Pikmin off right as we get to that certain point where a Pikmin left our party, we could delay them long enough so that they'd still be with us when we entered the cave. Which is exactly what Grassdigger does. He puts Olimar right before the spot where the Pikmin go idle, then swaps back to Louie and starts punching this Bulborb while he slowly pushes it towards his Pikmin. Punching it like this will get it to shake, and as soon as it does, he swaps back to Olimar and runs towards the cave. Normally, this would cause the Pikmin to go idle, but since they're in this shaken off state, they stay in his party and he's able to enter the cave with 2 Pikmin. Meaning, we can get to the cave with 0 throws, which means our total now dropped back to 17. Now, you're probably thinking, what exactly are we gonna do with only 2 Pikmin in the emergence cave? Well, we're gonna turn them into purples. We need exactly 4 purples to break down the 35 weight bag that leads to the cave. Which means, unfortunately, we're gonna have to do this twice. So yeah, I used 2 throws to turn 2 reds into purples, leave the cave, do the trick again, use 2 more throws, then use 4 to break down the big bag, for a total of 8. That may seem like a lot, but considering it normally takes 35 throws to break down this bag, I'd say it's pretty good. Unfortunately though, it does bring our total to 25 now. But on the bright side, now that the bag is down, we have full access to the emergence cave, which means we can farm up a bunch of red Pikmin, and combined with our 4 purples, we have just enough to carry the spherical atlas home, escaping the tutorial with only 25 throws, less than half of the 53 the game intends us to use. Now, if this seems really complicated and confusing, it's because it is. It took me and the guys from the Pikmin speedrunning Discord hours to theorycraft this. We actually had a bunch of ideas to get the amount of throws even lower, but unfortunately, they just didn't work. The first one we thought of was to get the 5 Pikmin that are with Olimar on day 1 into the emergence cave by using the Bulborb jump and the idle cancel trick. Then turn 2 of them into purples and use them to break down the 15 weight bag, which would only take 2 throws instead of the normal 15. But unfortunately, this bag is very important. Breaking down this bag sets off a trigger that allows enemies to do damage to Olimar and his Pikmin. You can see here, if we enter the cave without breaking the bag down, the enemies just can't damage us. Which is really unfortunate because guess what? Purple candy pop buds count as enemies. So when we try to throw Pikmin in them, they literally just bounce off because they can't do damage to us yet. Which means we can't make purples until we break down this bag. So obviously that idea was scrapped. The other one we thought of was to do everything the exact same, but instead of making 4 purples, we would only make 1. Then farm up 91 reds, use the swapping method to get them all in the cave, and then grab the spherical atlas, which would save us 5 throws in total, but this also didn't work. Without breaking down this bag, you can only farm up 38 Pikmin by day 2. And if you think you could just come back on day 3 and farm up some more, you'd be wrong, because this Bulborb that we fought so hard to keep alive disappears on day 3, meaning we couldn't do the Bulborb jump, which basically destroys this whole thing. So yeah, as of right now, it seems like 25 is the absolute lowest you need to escape the tutorial, which may seem like a lot, but don't worry, because things get a lot better from here on out. To show you what I mean, let's continue on with the challenge. The next thing the game wants us to do is head to the Hole of Beasts and collect every treasure inside the cave, which is exactly what we do. The only thing blocking our access to the cave is this wall, which we can easily break down without throws. Then we enter the cave and collect every treasure because they're all just sitting on the ground waiting for us. You don't even need throws for the Empress Bulblats, you can actually just swarm her sides and kill her that way. Next, we're supposed to break down this 200 weight bag, head to the White Flower Garden, get white Pikmin, use them to break down this wall, then grab the geographic projection, which unlocks the game's third world, the Perplexing Pool. Obviously though, we can't do any of that, because that's a shit ton of throws we cannot afford to use. But what we can do is use this Creeping Chrysanthemum to knock Olimar up on this ledge, walk around the 200 weight bag, whistle our Pikmin, then head into the cave, getting us into the White Flower Garden with 0 throws. Unfortunately though, to get a lot of the treasure in the White Flower Garden, throws are gonna be needed. Like this gem here needs throws to get Pikmin over this tiny ledge. I thought maybe we could use the Blowhog to throw Pikmin far enough to reach it, but because of where it was, it just wasn't working. I tried to lure him closer to the treasure, but he never wanted to follow me, so we're gonna have to leave this one behind. Unfortunately though, this is gonna be a reoccurring theme throughout this entire cave, because to get most of the treasures in White Flower Garden, you need white Pikmin. And to get white Pikmin, you need to use throws, which we can't do. So, treasures that are buried or stuck behind poison geysers are going to be off limits to us for the entire run because we don't have whites. There are ways to break poison geysers without white Pikmin, but they involve either using bombs or throwing. Both are things we can't do while in the White Flower Garden, so sublevels 3 and 4 are a complete wash. Thankfully, sublevel 5 is a bit better, as we can kill the Snagret the same way we did in Pikmin 1 by waiting for it to get stuck and swarming its head with all of our Pikmin. Which is actually very important because the Snagret drops one of the most broken items in the game, the 5-man knapsack. I'll explain why it's so broken in a bit, but if you've seen any of my Pikmin 2 videos, you probably already know. But yeah, we end up collecting only 3 treasures while in the White Flower Garden, which is not a good sign for the rest of the run. What's also not a good sign is that since we don't have white Pikmin, we can't break down the wall leading to the geographic projection. This wall is the only way to the treasure, and since we can't break it down, we're pretty much out of luck. Or at least we would be if there wasn't a super complex and convoluted way around it. If you've seen my previous Pikmin 2 videos, you probably know we can use the Creeping Chrysanthemum here to get to the second half of the Awakening Wood without having to break down this poison wall. The problem is, to actually do this skip, you need to throw 1 Pikmin up on this ledge to actually wake up the Chrysanthemum. But since this is a minimum throws run, we can't do that. There is another trick that would get us up here, but we need yellow Pikmin to do it. If we lie down by this wall with the 5-man knapsack, yellow Pikmin will carry us right up on the ledge. This is because the path the yellow Pikmin take to get Olimar back to their onion just happens to bring them up here. But since the red onion is located in a different spot, it doesn't work quite the same. The problem is, we can't unlock yellow Pikmin until we get to the Perplexing Pool, which we need the geographic projection to unlock, the very treasure we're trying to get. We could unlock blue Pikmin because they're right here in the Awakening Wood, but we would need yellow Pikmin to do that because they're stuck behind an electric fence. And even if we did, the trick doesn't work with blue Pikmin anyways, so we're stuck. Or we would be if I wasn't a filthy liar. Because we can unlock blue Pikmin without yellows, and they can be used for this trick. It's just, it only works at a very specific time. But before we get into that, let's first unlock the blue Pikmin. To do this, we have to perform a trick called Early Blues, which involves getting Olimar on this ledge with the 5-man knapsack, placing him on one of these scales, then throwing one Pikmin at the poison wall and the other at the opposite scale. This will cause the scale to rise and a cutscene to play telling you that your Pikmin has been poisoned. Having these two things happen in tandem just happens to clip Olimar through the scale. Now that that's happened, we can walk out of bounds until we reach this spot here. Then we can walk towards our blue Pikmin, use a knapsack as we fall off into the void, which will then teleport us right beside our blues. If you didn't notice, that took 2 throws to do, but we can actually do it in 0. If we bring Louie up here as well, we can actually get him to step on the scale and use a spicy spray. Just like with the poison wall, the spicy spray causes a cutscene to get played, and since we stepped on the scale with Louie, it rises at the same time, which gives us the exact same result, just with 2 fewer throws. We now need to whistle the blue Pikmin to unlock them, swap back to Louie, and take this little shortcut so we don't have to use 2 throws for the scales, then make our way over to the wall. And this is where things get interesting. We could now use a blue Pikmin to perform the trick, but since we never broke down the electric gate, we actually can't get blue Pikmin out of there. You would think we could just end the day and come back tomorrow because the blue onion would spawn back at base and we could just get our blues from there. But this trick only works with blue Pikmin if we unlock them and their onion is still in the original spot. If it moves back to our base, the trick no longer works. So how are we gonna do this? We can't get blue Pikmin over here when the onion's in the correct spot. There's no Pikmin type that can bring us to the blue onion when it's over there. Except, there is. One thing that people might not be aware of is that since purple and white Pikmin don't have onions themselves, when they take stuff back to base, they choose an onion at random. Which means if we take purple Pikmin by this wall, and they choose to take us to the blue onion, they will take us right up the ledge, getting us to the second half of the Awakening Wood without having to break down the poison wall, and more importantly, in 0 throws. But we still aren't done yet, because as soon as we end the day, the blue onion will move to our base, and we'll have no way back up here. There is a shortcut back to base that's created when you build this bridge here, but to do that, we need to build that bridge and another one with only 3 purple Pikmin, with less than half the day left. This is gonna be close. It actually wasn't that close. I actually had quite a bit of time to spare. All I had to do was take my Pikmin in the water here, whistle them to the other side, build this bridge, then build the other one. I thought it would take forever since I was only using 3 Pikmin, but thanks to a glitch in this version of the game that causes every section of the bridge after the first section to complete instantly, we were able to do it in no time at all. This was actually fixed in the Switch re-release of the game, so it might not be possible in that version. I actually learned about this in a video by Random Game Critic, which is criminally underviewed by the way, so if you like Pikmin challenge runs, go check it out. But yeah, with the bridge now complete, we can come back the next day and collect the geographic projection, unlocking the perplexing pool for us. The first thing we need to do in the perplexing pool is unlock yellow Pikmin, which you think would be a problem because we don't have whites and they're guarded by this poison wall, but it's actually not. We can just use our good old friend the knapsack to get up on this log, then drop down and whistle our yellow boys. Now that we have our yellows, we can enter the Citadel of Spiders and sweep through the cave, collecting every treasure, except for the diamond buried up on this ledge, and the key that resides inside Beady Longlegs. Just like in Pikmin 1, we can't damage him without throws. But unlike in Pikmin 1, we don't need the treasure that he holds, so we can just leave. After that, we head to the shower room, Glutton's kitchen, and Submerge Castle and collect every treasure that doesn't involve throwing. There wasn't a ton of these, but there was treasures like the weed leaf in the shower room and the confection hoop in the Submerge Castle, which were just too high to get without throws. I also couldn't kill any of the bosses in these 3 caves. The water wraith can only be killed with purples, and I couldn't get any purples in the cave because I can't use throws. The Raging Bloister can only be hurt by damaging its tail, which we obviously need throws for. And since I couldn't use throws to flip over these beetles, there just wasn't enough things for the giant breadbud to carry back to the ship, so I couldn't kill him either. And now that I'm writing the script, I realize that I'm just stupid and could have used a bitter spray to kill him like I did in my one-shot video, but whatever, it's fine. After that, I went to the Valley of Repose and did the exact same thing, going through both caves there and collecting every treasure I could. And hey, I even managed to kill a boss. It was just the Empress Ballblats again, but still, it's a win. Unfortunately though, I couldn't kill the man at legs. Even though you can damage it before it stands up, you just can't do enough. Even with spicy sprays and almost 100 Pikmin. You also can't bitter spray it until it's fully standing up, which obviously doesn't help us. So unfortunately, we had to leave the cave without the boss treasure, but we did end up collecting 1,000 Pokos for our trouble, which now left us at 7,500 Pokos in total. And with only 2 caves remaining, I was thinking that maybe paying off the debt just wasn't gonna happen. Especially since one of the caves, the Snagrit's hole, was still stuck behind this poison bridge. And since the blue onion had moved from its original position, we had no way up there without using throws. But that's a problem for future us. For now, let's head to the other cave that's still available, the Ballblats Kingdom. For the most part, the Ballblats Kingdom is more of the same. We get most of the treasures there, but there are some that are simply out of our reach or buried underground that we can't get. Where things get interesting though is on the last floor, specifically the fight against the Emperor. Normally this guy is a complete joke, but without throws, he's actually really hard. For some reason, unlike his counterpart in Pikmin 1, you can't swarm him and damage his feet. They are completely invulnerable. Or at least they are like 90% of the time. Weirdly enough, when the Emperor eats Pikmin, he can sometimes be damaged. And when he jumps in the air, he can really be damaged. But unfortunately, this doesn't really help us out. Because to actually do damage, the Pikmin have to stay under his feet for so long that it's basically a suicide mission. If I had maybe like 400 Pikmin, this might be possible, but I would burn through my Pikmin so fast and do such a small amount of damage. This was the closest I got, around half HP, and obviously that's not gonna cut it. So I tried the last option I had, the last hope of defeating this absolute Goliath, the bitter spray. And it didn't work. Yep, Pikmin just do no damage to him while he's bitter sprayed. Isn't that awesome? Finding this out sent me into a rage, which caused me to just run at the Emperor and start swinging. And what happened after that honestly shocked me. It did damage. For some reason, when the Emperor Ballblats is bitter sprayed, Pikmin can't hurt him, but Olimar and Louie can. The problem is, they don't damage him a lot. In fact, it's barely at all. So I gave myself infinite bitter sprays to see if doing this was even possible. And it is. It just takes 32 bitter sprays to actually do it. But yeah, he can be killed with 0 throws, which is pretty cool. The Driveway Bus can also be obtained with 0 throws. Even though it looks like you would need some to get over this small ledge, you can actually just push the Pikmin up here with Olimar's body, which is honestly also pretty cool. With the Ballblats Kingdom now done, we only have 1,500 Pokos remaining to pay off the debt. But there is no way to get to the final remaining cave. To get Pikmin to the Snagrit hole, you need to break down this poison bridge. But since we don't have white Pikmin, we can't do that. Since we have yellows though, we can get up there with Olimar and Louie using the same skip as before, but we can't get our Pikmin up there as well. At least, that's what I thought at first. Then, I remembered a secret hidden mechanic in Pikmin 2. A mechanic so amazing, so incredible, that I can't believe I ever forgot it. Blue Pikmin lifeguards, baby! Yeah, if we just leave our blue Pikmin idle in the water here, and drown our other Pikmin near them, they'll just throw them by the Stangerhole for us. Now we can whistle our blues and enter the cave, and all of our Pikmin will be with us. Which allows us to sweep through the cave, collecting almost every treasure and kill the boss, no problem. After the cave, I used the same trick again to nab ourselves the strawberry, which left us with a little over 100 Pokos remaining. And I knew exactly where to grab those last 100 Pokos. It was a treasure that ended off my blue only run in the most epic way possible. No, yeah, it wasn't even close to as cool as before. We basically just used our blue Pikmin lifeguards to throw yellows over the wall and got them to break down the fence. That was it. But yeah, with the Ragu lid collected, we had paid off the debt with only 25 throws. Aside from the tutorial, we didn't need any extra throws to beat the game. Which is honestly kind of cool, but also really annoying. If only there was some way to skip using throws in the tutorial. It's literally the only point in the game where you need to use throws. So if we could do that, we could beat Pikmin 2 with 0. Well, as it turns out, there is a way. But as I explained at the start of the video, it's so horrible that no human being should ever attempt it. To beat Pikmin 2 without throws, you have to do the following. Use one throw on day 1 to cause a Pikmin extinction, then on day 2, kill the Bulborb and pause the game as its spirit rises up. Then end the day and start a new file. We're not counting the throw on day 1 because it's technically on a different file. But yeah, on the new file, whistle your Pikmin, then perform a Bulborb jump to get up on the ledge. Now you need to perform an idle cancel with the Bulborb to get at least 3 Pikmin in the cave. Which is a lot easier on this file because the bag hasn't been crushed yet. Which means the Bulborb can't hurt our Pikmin. So we don't need to do the whole thing where we punch the Bulborb with Louie. We can just lure him by the Pikmin and he'll constantly shake them off. We also need to get at least 3 Pikmin in the cave because it takes 3 Pikmin to carry a dwarf Bulborb. Which is exactly what we're going to be farming for Pokos. There are 11 dwarf Bulborbs in the Emergence Cave, which go for 2 Pokos each. So if we farm every one of them, we'll get 22 Pokos every time we enter the cave. Which means to pay off the debt, we would have to do this 455 times. Not only would this take forever doing this with just 3 Pikmin, but it means you would have to do the hardest trick in Pikmin 2 455 times. Which is honestly something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. A speedrunner by the name of Zach the Pillow did a speedrun of Pikmin 2 where he paid off the debt using only dwarf Bulborbs, and it took him almost 24 hours to do it. And while he was doing this, he was able to run back to the cave like a normal person. Doing it with the Bulborb jump would take hundreds of hours, not just 24. It would be the most painful and tedious challenge in all of gaming. But hey, it is technically possible. I even checked if the game would stop you from paying off the debt if you hadn't crushed the bag yet or collected the battery, but it didn't. I used a cheat to give myself the max amount of Pokos on day 1, and as soon as I landed, the game just ended. So clearly there's no prerequisite for paying off the debt. You just need 10,000 Pokos, which we can get. There's infinite time on day 1, and since we're never gonna crush the bag, it means enemies can't hurt us. So there's almost no way to actually fail. The only caveat to the whole plan is that after you leave the cave for the first time, Olimar will be unable to interact with the Pikmin. The good news is that you can still use Louie, but the bad news is that nobody has ever performed a Bulborb jump with Louie. So, if for some reason Louie couldn't Bulborb jump, then this plan wouldn't work. But there's no reason he shouldn't be able to, so in theory it should be fine. But yeah, if someone wants to attempt this, if they want to become a living Pikmin legend, be my guest. I would do it myself, but I actually value my mental health. This video was made possible through the support of our amazing patrons. I want to give a special shout out to Rebecca Lyons, Leigh Burb, Puddles Megan, Liam Helt, and KoiKoi13.